going on, ladies and gentlemen? It's the one and only James Williams, also known as Dark Waters, the proprietor of IamDarkWaters.com, the Dark Waters channel. And look, I'm your friend. You know, we hang out, we talk, we chop it up, we chat, and I'm back. And we are at the tail end of Bigfoot weekend. And I'm excited because I have Pat Spain on here with me. And we're going to talk about quite a few things. Now, first of all, he's been on Travel Channel, where he's had a TV show where he went out into the woods and all over the world, into various strange and creepy places, searching and seeking for various crazy things. Now, let me say this to you guys. So, in my mind, you know, you got your Bigfoot researchers, who are the guys who just kind of run off in the woods. You know, they go handle their business. Those guys are full of knowledge. They got, they get prints, they get all kind of stuff. And then you have different levels of researchers. Pat is one of those guys who's gotten to a different level, and he's done it on a major level. So not only am I going to be asking him questions about what he researched and found and where he went and why he did it, and like looking for sea serpents, which is wild, but I'm also going to ask him things about, you know, how does the average researcher find themselves get in a position, get that kind of limelight on them? What do they need to do to pre-position themselves? Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Pat Spain. How are you today, my friend?
Hey, I'm doing well. How about yourself?
I'm doing good. I'm doing fantastic. Let's start here, brother.
Good.
And we're going to make this easy. So, this whole weird and crazy world of cryptids, right?
Mhm.
You have just like, you know, you went from beyond the guy who just has a hobby, goes out into the woods on the weekend. You went and found yourself on TV, then traveled the entire world,
Mhm.
went chasing down crazy mythological creatures that some of them are actually real and very dangerous. How in the world did you get into this? Was this something that, you know, you started as an interest as a kid? Or was it something that you got into as an adult? How did you find yourself? How did you get on the road to this?
I have a very weird life. Absolutely. So when I was a kid, I was fascinated by all animals, any animal I could get my hands on. I was the crazy kid, you knew from school, who was bringing snakes into class and bringing in, I raised frogs. Well, some of my teachers kind of humored me and let me bring some different animals in and keep them in the classroom. And I would teach people about them. So even at a really young age, when you're the guy, catching a rattlesnake, you tend to get a crowd gathered around you. So I would go door to door in my neighborhood and see who wanted to learn about whatever it was that I had just caught. And I loved it. I just had so much fun doing this. And I knew that that's what I wanted to do for my entire life, was get people as excited about wildlife as I was. So I went to school for marine biology, and I kept up this kind of street performer almost of giving these wildlife talks. And I would do it at the beach. I'd do it on vacation. I would travel. It's pretty normal. I think people think it's normal, at least, to go birding, where you like travel, to find birds and stuff. I would
Right.
travel to find snakes and frogs and lizards, which is a little bit weirder, and I don't know why, but that was what I did. And my girlfriend was into it, who's now my wife, and I got a few of my friends into it. So this was just totally normal for me. And when I was giving these talks, by the time I was in my early 20s, I kind of realized that this biologist street performer really didn't pay the bills too well. So I got a job in biotech, but I kept doing these talks. And my girlfriend said, really, to reach the biggest audience and to get kind of a name where parents at the beach, don't think you're just some creepy guy who's talking to their
Right.
kids about,
Yeah.
horseshoe crabs. You need to let people know that you're harmless and that you actually know what you're talking about. So she suggested doing TV. And I was like, oh yeah, that's something I've always wanted to do. I have no idea where to start. So I drove from Boston to Ohio on a whim to audition for a wildlife show, a reality show on Animal Planet, and I ended up getting it. So I made friends with the crew and with the cast of this, everyone involved in the show. And I said, I really want to keep on going with this. So I formed my own crew and I started filming my own wildlife show. And I did that for about 6 years, self-financed. I got myself ridiculously in debt, flying us all over the world, filming this YouTube wildlife show. but I loved it. Just had so much fun. And the weirder animals were always the ones that interested me the most. The deep sea or bats or, different species of snakes. Like, and I was just fascinated by the different adaptations they had and the things that don't seem to make sense about them. So cryptids were kind of the natural progression from there. And I also had this weird connection where Charles Fort, the prophet of the unexplained, the earliest paranormal researcher, he's my great great uncle. So it sort of felt like always carrying on the family tradition. So I was in these two worlds of biology and crypto and kind of mixing the two of them together and getting into TV. And eventually it all came together on the series on National Geographic called Beast Hunter, where I was able to do all the aspects of my weird life and travel the world looking for these cryptids and using my knowledge of biology to really assess, could the animal be real? If it is, what could it be eating? If it's not, what could it be mistaken for? What kind of habitat would it live in? All that good stuff.
Man, that's awesome. So basically, you're telling me that you lived out your childhood dream. You're living out your
100%.
childhood. Man, that's freaking. When I tell you that's awesome, man, that is awesome on a whole nother level. Because I don't think people, most people as they become adults, they just give up on their childhood dream. When those bills hit
Absolutely.
and those mortgage payments come and those insurance payments, they're like, ah, screw this. I don't give a damn. I got to pay these bills. And they just
Right.
give up on it. Man, that's freaking amazing. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. Thank you. You got to have fun. The world is an amazing place and there's too much to see out there to just kind of come home and, sit on the couch for the entire rest of the day.
Yeah, I'm with you, bro. I try my best to stay busy and do what it is that I can do. But man, I'm really, really happy to hear that. It's very few people who actually live out their dream in this world, and it's a horrific thing when they don't get a chance to do it because it breaks people's will. So I'm excited to be talking to someone who lived out their dream, and it tells me that everything that you do as it pertains to this, it's the passion for it that got you there. So
100%.
for those of you listening, I'm just going to break down to the researchers who listen to me what I heard. What I heard was a man who had a passion from a child who pursued that same passion through the educational system and then combined that passion with taking advantage of the right opportunity at the right time. And then, and this is the most significant part, guys, this is one of the things that the cryptid community as a whole doesn't really get. And this is what he said. If you heard him, he said, "Man, I put myself in debt, flying all around the world, going and chasing my dream, and
Yep.
then it paid off in the end." And that's one of the things, man, that people don't understand about chasing your dream. Sometimes it's gonna slap you in the pockets real hard. It's like a little carjacker when it comes to
Oh,
taking your wallet.
in the pockets, in the face, everything. I mean, I was working. So I was working in a lab, in a microbiology lab, pulling 70-hour weeks at least. For my day job, in quotes. And then I was doing all this filming stuff and editing. I taught myself how to edit. I took a couple classes on, the use of the behind the scenes stuff, the writing, the editing, the use of the cameras, all that. I found a couple camera guys by going around Boston putting up flyers, and ended up finding, two people who became some of my best friends, and just kind of got us all into this. And we formed our own crew. And I was spending, yeah, crazy amounts of money, but also, another 40 hours at least every week on this. And then flying down to DC or New York, or driving to DC or New York to have meetings with different networks and keeping up all the correspondences. I mean, it was all consuming for, yeah, about 6 years.
Pat, I thank you for explaining all that, and I'm gonna tell you why I want to thank you. I have I'm in a kind of a unique position where I talk to a significant amount of field researchers, and YouTubers and all the rest of these people. But then also I talk to a huge amount of people who have been on like TV shows and Travel Channel and this and that. I'm like in this middle ground, right?
Mhm.
And so I will hear people say, well, these guys that are on TV, they do this, 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 this. And I'll say to people, I say, man, you need to understand what people go through to get to that point so you can get there. And you're the first person that's actually really opened up and explained everything that you went through to get there. And it's
Oh,
hard work, man.
oh yeah.
It
Oh
really
yeah.
is hard work and it's sacrifice. And I truly believe, Pat, that if you work hard, you make the sacrifices, in order to attain the goal that you want. There's no way you cannot achieve that goal. You just have to go through the fire in order to get there. And you're a living example of it, man. And congratulations again. And you're a cool dude. I can tell by just the conversation we're having right now. You're the kind of guy have a beer with and hang out and laugh and joke. All right. So
Absolutely. Thank you. You as well. Yes.
thank you, man. So let's go on and move forward a little bit. So you go through, let's go to the YouTube where you, that time period where you were traveling,
Sure.
where you were doing it all yourself, where you were funding the adventures. What kind of places did you guys go when you were funding things out of pocket? Because I'm pretty sure it was just raw passion and energy that got you through that. What were you looking for then, and what were you
Yeah.
doing then?
So the first places that we filmed were all around the Boston area, just because it was the accessible. That's where we all were, and the footage, it was terrible, and it was painful to watch. And the camera guys, it was really funny. So two of my good friends, Dom and Colin, they didn't know how to tell me that it was terrible. So they had my girlfriend tell me how awful I was at hosting. And
What?
oh yeah. So they sat me down one time. We were getting pizza after we'd been out all day filming, and I went to the bathroom and I came back, and she was just like, "Pat, we got to talk. These guys showed me some of the footage. You got to get better at this if this is what you want to do." And I listened. And I worked at it, and I watched the footage, and I cringed, and I saw how awful, and I really I spent a lot of time working at it and getting, to be where I felt comfortable and I felt confident that I was doing all right. And after a little bit of that, they stuck with me because they were, college kids. They were they were just along for the ride at first, and then they got really, passionate about it as well. And then I flew us out to Arizona because I thought that was where we could find, some really cool reptiles and some other things. And it's just a great part of the country to find this stuff. And in the 4 nights that we were there, we caught the deadliest snake, lizard, scorpion, and toad in America.
Wow.
So we got this great footage. I started having, meetings with networks. I started editing it, putting it up on YouTube. And then we started hearing from other scientists. I started talking to other people and reaching out and saying, "Hey, New England Aquarium, can we film a little bit over there?" Going out to do some marine bio stuff, which was my background, or talking to a bat researcher up in New Hampshire, go up and film with them, or some other snake researchers out in kind of Western Mass. And then I flew us down to Costa Rica twice. And we did about a week down in Costa Rica, completely self-funded, found couches that we could sleep on, found people who would, show us around or help us, guide us through the different jungles. I found a herpetology institute down there that was willing to work with us on a shoestring budget. And we caught all kinds of crazy stuff down there and just kind of kept it going. So, and then a lot more around the US, down in Florida, up in Maine, just, driving anywhere we could reach, really. And that was all wildlife, really. That was just anything we could get our hands on.
Oh man, that's super cool. That's super cool. I tell you, so the handling of all these poisonous animals, I guess that you mastered as a kid, then, right? Because you had to master at a young age to be an adult running around
Or you
messing with that
die.
kind of stuff. Yo, you
Yeah.
die, bro. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's wild,
Yeah,
man.
you either get really good at it or you don't.
I'm telling you, down here in New Orleans, in my neighborhood, I grew up, bro. I grew up in this neighborhood called Little Woods in the Ninth Ward. So it's like it's about one, two, three, four. It's about 8 streets, a park, and it was like this big old apartment complex. But it was kind of
Mhm,
like it was low income housing, so it was like a big project. Anyway,
mhm,
it was all surrounded on all sides by water. One side was a lake, the other side was a swamp, the other side was this gigantic canal that like had runoff from the city. And so,
mhm.
bro, when we went outside to play, you ran into alligators, you ran into snakes, water moccasins, you ran into every freaking thing you could possibly run into. When I look back on my life as a kid, the stuff we did, bro, I don't know how I survived it. Like we would go down into the canal, they'll crawfishing to get crawfish, there'll be a water moccasin there. Grab a stick, stab the water moccasin, keep on hitting it with bricks, doing the throw it to the side. Then you're getting your crawfish net, and here come an alligator, man. It was insane.
Oh
But I
yeah.
never made that transition like you did. I was like, yeah, I'm gonna catch this water moccasin alive, and I'm gonna go ahead and take him to school,
When
bro.
I
You a savage.
when I was 7, I raised a moccasin in my basement and lied to my parents about what it was.
Oh yeah, savage, bro.
My
Savage.
mom went down there one day with one of my guidebooks, and I just hear, "Patrick, Patrick, get down here!" And she's talking about the shape of the head, and she was like, "I can't find." I told her it was a wood snake, which doesn't exist. She was like, "I can't find a wood snake in this book, but this looks awfully like a water moccasin." And I was like, "Oh, I'll let it go."
Oh my goodness, bro. You was a wild one as a kid. That's crazy.
It was
And
pretty nuts.
it didn't bother you, it didn't scare you, not at all. It was just I mean, I don't say how you get to that point. It was there was never any fear in you of them.
Well, so I said now there is. So now there definitely is. I have a respectful fear. At the time, I lacked that, and that's really dangerous. And what happened? So I was, oh God, I was probably about 24, I think, and I was free handling a neotropical rattlesnake, which is very, very, very dangerous, and nobody should do that, in my opinion. And I was more focused on talking to the camera than I was on the deadly snake that was in my hands, and I got bitten. It bit me in the arm, and in that moment, it just snaps me back to realize how stupid I'd been. And luckily, it was a dry bite. So about 25% of the time that they bite, rattlesnakes don't inject any venom. It's just like, hey, what are you doing? You're being an idiot. Like, let me go. Which I deserved. Every time I've ever been bitten, it's 100% my fault. I deserved it. And in that moment, like I said, I got lucky. It snapped me back to reality. I called my wife. She was not happy with me at all. And I promised her that I'd never free handle venomous snakes again. And I haven't.
And so free handle is like what, grabbing it by the tail? Because I know there's like they got the stick that you use, kind of like a loop on the end of it, and you
Mhm.
loop it. Free handle is what, grabbing. What is free handle?
Yeah,
Pulling
it's
it
just
by the tail?
not using any tools.
Yeah, you tripping, dude.
Yeah,
Like,
it was not smart. I
yeah,
will
you tripping.
never. I haven't done it since. I will. I've dealt with. I've worked with a few venomous since then, but nothing. I won't ever free handle again. Just I got my one shot. I got lucky. I feel very fortunate for that. And yeah, when I was a kid, you just don't even think of that. It doesn't even cross your mind that your own mortality kind of isn't in your head when you're a kid for the most
Nah,
part.
it's not. Nah, it's really not. My mortality didn't hit. Well, I'm not gonna talk about that. My mortality didn't hit until I was like 11 years old, when bad stuff started happening in the neighborhood, and you go in the woods and you find dead bodies. Like, hey, this guy's dead. How did he
Right.
die?
Yeah,
You
you
know
all of a
what I'm
sudden
saying?
you realize it like, oh yeah, no, this can happen. Yeah.
Yeah, you can die. Somebody can do this to you, and then you wake up and you realize it. I got one
Yeah,
more
we
snaky question. Have
oh
you ever
sure.
handled a cobra?
Oh yeah. Yeah, so a few different times. Cobras are actually pretty great because they're usually pretty calm. They're a very, very smart snake. So they kind of take in all the information before they act. And also, cobras can only strike down. So you can come over the top of them and kind of pat them on the top of the head, and they can't go up to bite you like that. So you just have to keep your feet and keep your legs out of their striking distance, but you can come right over the top of them. And that's why you'll see people push down on their heads and push them down to the ground, and the snake can't do anything. That's just their anatomy.
So that's what that girl is doing on YouTube. So, bro, there's this chick somewhere in some other country on YouTube with like millions of views, and she's just running up on a cobra, like slapping it on the head. I'm like, yo, girl, you gonna get bit, but she never got bit. But that makes sense. That's why she knows the how it works. Okay, so
They
I'm
are
thinking
very
she's
smart.
Superwoman.
Unfortunately, I don't know that specific video, but there are a lot of videos, unfortunately, where people have either like wired their jaws shut or done surgery and removed the fangs or removed the venom glands or done some other not so great things that harm the animal, and then they film it as if they're this super brave, and I'm not saying that this is happening in that video at all, but there are quite a few of those where people are, they have injured the animal, or they've frozen them. So sometimes they'll take the animal and put them on ice and freeze them so that they move really, really slowly, and they just want to warm up. And then they'll film and make it look like they're, super brave, or they really know what they're doing. And in reality, it's pretty harmful to the animal. So I try to everything that I've ever filmed has been exactly what you see. Like, what you see is what you get. There's nothing happening behind the scenes. We're not putting stuff on ice. We're not planting animals. Yeah.
That's next level cloud chasing. I am not taking the time to get a cobra, put them on ice, wait for them to freeze, take them out and play around with them. That's next level cloud chasing. That's
I'm, I'm,
ridiculous, man.
I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah,
I hope,
that's
I hope no one will do that, but
ridiculous that somebody could do that. All right, let's shift gears, and hopefully, ladies and gentlemen, you're enjoying this. I want to start talking about your series on the hunt, the book series that you have, and that's
thank you.
based on your television shows that you were on. I guess let's go into the shows. Talk about some of the places that you had the opportunity to visit, and some of the things that you went chasing after. Matter of fact, let's start with the sea serpent because I'm gonna tell you something. So I had a friend of mine. I say had he was my partner Hayward was murdered like a year ago, and one of the things he did to to make his income look right was he would work offshore.
Mhm.
I never forget. This was like 4 years ago. He calls me. And he talked like DMX. Like he legit. When he
Oh
called you, you
man.
thought DMX was calling you. So he calls like, "Hey yo, what you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm at home chilling." He always talked aggressive. He's like, "Listen, I just got off a helicopter, and there's some kind of giant serpent that's in the Gulf of Mexico, and I'm telling you, son, it's big." And he just spazzing out like how about
Oh
this big
man.
serpent in the Gulf of Mexico. I'm like, "Come on, man! Like I'm chilling, watching TV. Stop playing," because he liked to make fun of me for being in the cryptids. He's like, "Nah, I'm serious. I'm telling you, hold on." So he puts another guy on the phone. He's like, "Tell him what we saw." And the guy's like, "Yo, this guy's like real proper." He's like, "We're flying at this altitude, and I look out of the window, and there's a giant snake. It, man, it's literally the size of 3 18 wheelers, and it's swimming in a circle." And I'm like, "What?" So he ain't the type to lie. That was the
Yeah.
very first time I heard about sea serpents, but he's not the type to lie. He just wasn't that kind of guy. And when you started talking to me about going looking for it, I wanted to start there. Talk to me about what made. Well, we already know what made you want to look for it because you love snakes. So you
Mhm.
went looking for the biggest water snake you could find, basically, right?
Yes, I mean, sea serpents are one of those persistent legends that you learn about as a kid, and you hear about, and you think it's one of the ones that even most conservative scientists kind of it makes them pause, and they say, you know what? There is so much that we don't know about the oceans that there is almost certainly still large undiscovered creatures in the deepest parts of the ocean. So I started researching kind of which sea serpent myths would I be the most interested in, and which ones could I actually get to, and which ones fit in the budget for the show, and which ones are,
Right.
are going to work. And what kind of rose to the surface, pun intended, is Caddy. So Cadborosaurus wilsi in Vancouver. So this is a consistent sightings have happened over the years of this sea serpent in British Columbia. And you started to think like, why, what makes this area something where we would see an animal like this? And what you find about the region is that you reach deep water very, very, very quickly. And it's a heavily populated area where you reach deep water quickly. So you're starting to get into a place where, okay, something lives at the depth. This is where they're most likely to see it. Because really, in the deep water, there aren't that many people around to see something when it's coming up. And you start to look at the caddy sightings and go, okay, it's usually sighted at certain times of the year, which would indicate either migratory patterns or indicate, a water temperature or a salinity type of like there's some reason why it's being seen when it is. This seems like a good place to go and do this investigation. There's also a really strong history from the indigenous peoples in the region of fully believing that Caddy is a real creature, not a spirit creature, not a mythical creature, but a real creature that they've seen and that they have, real biological stories about. So that was the impetus to go up to Vancouver and to look for sea serpents there. And I truly believe that that is the one, one of the ones that we will find someday. And I think it really illustrates the point in cryptozoology that it's hard for cryptozoologists because I would be really, really excited if we found a new species of squid that met a lot of the descriptions of caddy. So you find this new species of squid, and you go, okay, so this makes sense. As a marine biologist, I can see this, I can understand. This is very exciting. But the general public would go, nah, that's not a sea serpent. Like, well, but it meets all it fits. Like, this is what people are
Right.
seeing. They go, no, it's not a sea serpent. So I think that that's the tough thing, is that what your friend saw could very well be something that's completely new to science, or it could be a rare grouping of a whole bunch of other animals. Like in the Gulf of Mexico, there's something called the yellow belly sea snake, and there are, every once in a great while throughout history, people have seen huge, absolutely enormous, like we're talking hundreds of thousands to potentially millions of individuals of this particular type of snake that group together, and it looks like one long, massive, undulating creature. But really, what it is just hundreds of thousands of these sea snakes that have all grouped together and are now being seen. I mean, it's entirely possible that what your friend saw was that. Or it could be something completely new to science. And that's what's so exciting about this, is that I firmly believe that he saw something. And why wouldn't we want to know what that was?
No, I agree with you 100%. I know he saw something. I think we should figure out what it is. Um, and I want to know, but I don't want to go find out for myself.
I understand.
And I'm just keeping 100% real, which I tell people all the time. Like, I specialize in like Bigfoot, Dogman, werewolf type creatures. I can tell people where to go find that right now, where there's activity at people's houses, where they got video photos, and they be like, "Why don't you come with me?" I'll be like, "Nah, I'm a pass. I'm good. Like, I'm good." That's why I admire people who are field researchers who go out into the field and go look for these things, because it just takes a different level of kahunas to go do that. You guys end up having it. All right, so you
There's
go looking
healthy
for.
fear. Healthy fear is a good thing. That's what keeps us alive.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I just, I'm not exposing myself to that type of fear. I'm just not gonna do it. I'm just that. I'm with you though. I agree with you. I'll find another type of healthy fear. How about to get up under 400 pounds and squatting it? That's a healthy fear.
Oh man, absolutely. Yeah, that's
Because
something I could never do.
yeah, but I ain't going looking for no sea serpents. All right, so you go looking for the sea serpent. Now, out of all the things that you went to look for, um, which one? I guess we can get which one, like, felt like it would be the greatest threat to you when you got to the location. When you got there and you started looking for things, what felt what I guess what trip or expedition did it feel like? Okay, this just got real, and I may have a problem while I'm out here.
Yeah, so every, like, I work with a lot of dangerous animals, and people always think that that's going to be the scariest part of anything. But I'll tell you, with all the things that I work with, um, the most that I've ever been injured are, from myself. Like, I'll trip. I, I spent this one whole day where I was handling, rattlesnakes and monitor lizards and oh man, a cobra and tarantulas and just everything you can think of. I ended up having to get staples in my head because I tripped while I was in an alligator's cage and knocked my head into the cage.
First of
So,
all, what you doing running around an alligator cage?
oh
That's
man,
the
he was
first
great.
problem.
He was a 7 foot alligator. He was friendly. He was like a dog, man. You'd walk in and he'd get all excited. He'd run over and rub against your leg. Like, he was so friendly. And I told my wife, and I got her to come in with me and go visit him. And he did not like her, so she had to get out of there real quick.
Wow,
But on these
wow.
expeditions, the most dangerous things that I come across, besides myself, just my own accident-prone nature, are people and forms of transportation. And I was in a this old pickup truck in the Central African Republic, going down dirt roads, with giant potholes in the middle of them. We had to be going over 100 miles an hour. There was over 400,000 miles on the car because it stopped at that point. And as we're going down the road, flames just started shooting out of the dashboard towards us all. And the driver's just like, "Oh yeah, no big deal." He just pulls over, does a little bit of work. It's like, "Everybody back in." I mean, that stuff is terrifying. Like the things that you have no control over. It's the cars, or it's the government officials that are threatening to throw you in jail because you were filming, a logging truck that didn't even realize that you were filming this logging truck. But they're saying, we have to either confiscate the footage, or we have to put you in jail, or you're going to need to get a ransom essentially in order to get out of this. Those are the terrifying situations. It's never the animals.
Yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere getting extorted. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's pretty
yeah.
that's pretty rough, bro.
Getting charged by a silverback gorilla was pretty intense. that was I mean, I definitely felt fear there.
Bro, that's a death machine, bro.
Yeah, they
I
are.
mean, pure muscle death machine.
Primates are the scariest animals on Earth, far and away. I mean,
Yeah.
chimps will rip your face off. They will bite your face off. They'll rip your arms off. Like they are really. I try not to work with any of the great apes past sexual maturity because they're just too dangerous. The baby ones are super cute. They're really fun, but the adult ones are just they're so smart and so unpredictable. And this was a wild silverback with a troop of gorillas, and he got embarrassed. And that's all that it was. It was his. He's got a harem of females, and another silverback was in the area, and one of his females checked out the other guy, and then he lost face in front of us, so he had to teach us that he was still in charge and he was still the toughest. So teeth bared, these huge canine teeth bared, charging, like yelling at us, beating the ground, splashing in the stream. And yeah, I thought something bad was going to happen at that.
Man, that sounds terrifying, bro. I'm visualizing that as you say that. That sounds absolutely terrifying.
Oh yeah.
Man, holy crap. All right, so um talk to me a little bit about the series, On the Hunt series. So it's a six book series,
Mhm.
and it pretty much chronicles everywhere that you went.
So a lot. So each book is focused on one region. So it's one area of the world, and the book is really kind of a funny travelogue with a cryptid angle. So the reason I was there was for a cryptid, but it's mostly about the ridiculous adventures that you get in and the amazing people that you meet when you're in these like really bizarre and just I mean, bizarre from our perspective, bizarre from an American perspective, regions of the world. When you're, living in rural Mongolia with nomadic herders, you're going to have some, and you're distilling your own vodka from mare's milk, from fermented horse's milk. You're going to have some adventures, and the books
Yeah,
are the stories of that. And then each one has one chapter on the cryptid that we were looking for and what my thoughts are behind that cryptid.
bro, that would be wild. You're in the middle of Mongolia, drinking vodka from horses' milk, and you wake up drunk somewhere, just like, oh crap, I had too much to drink. And you go to bed thinking you're at home in your bed or dreaming about being in your bed, and wake
Oh
up like,
yeah.
holy crap, I'm on the other side of the world, and I'm drunk.
Yep. I'm laying on the floor of this gur like a yurt, with a camel hair blanket pulled over me, covered in ticks. And here's one of these giant camel spiders crawling over my feet. All right. Yep. And I've got a
Yeah,
wicked hangover from this awful vodka that
yeah,
tastes like
bro,
cheese. Hmm.
that was just horrific, man. I bet that was in the probably stronger than any moonshine that I had around here. But man, but it sounds like you really, really explored the world and had fun.
Oh, I
Something
loved
that
it.
most people don't do. All right, let's swing toward the whole search for how is it pronounced? The Bigfoot. Is it orang
Orang-pendek.
pendek? Let's talk
Hmm.
about that. Where did you go looking for that?
So that was in Sumatra. And orang-pendek, the funny thing, one of the things that we learned is that orang-pendek means short man. So I went into one of these markets and I started asking people for orang-pendek, and all of these women, these older hysterical women, would grab their really shy husbands out and be like, "Hey, I got a short man here. What do you want with him?" So it was a trip. But orang-pendek is this small. Some people say gibbon-like. Some people say hominid. I think Lauren Coleman probably gets it right when he says that what people are describing are two different species. I think that there's one Homo floresiensis is I think what a lot of people in the community are familiar with. That's the Hobbit that Dr. Mike Morwood discovered the skeleton of in the nearby island of Flores. And that
Hmm.
was definitely a hominin. That was definitely a human relative. And then other people describe a more ape-like creature. So orang-pendek, I went into Indonesia honestly thinking that it was most likely mistaken identity for either a gibbon or an orangutan, and I had my mind changed. While I was there, one of our guides, he would not appear on camera, which absolutely respect. He was a great guy, and he just kind of shook it. We had gone through a few days of this, and it was pretty evident, I think, to him that I was under the assumption that this was mistaken identity. And he just kind of pulled me aside and he said, "Look, the only people who don't believe in orang-pendek are the people who've never been to my forest. I live here. I know the animals." And I went, "Oh my God, yeah, you're right. This is extremely arrogant of us to, come in and tell people that they don't know what they're seeing."
Right.
And yeah, it really opened my eyes, and I started listening to the eyewitnesses, and I started seeing the evidence, and I started looking at the region where it is, and everything pointed me to flip my opinion and say, I really believe that this creature either is still there or was there very recently. And the kind of final solidifying fact for me was Mike Morwood, the guy who found Homo floresiensis. He said that he had evidence where he truly believes that Homo floresiensis survived into the 1920s.
Wow. Did you guys get a chance to actually go to his forest or get anywhere near
We
his
did, yeah. So we went all right into the forest in Sumatra. Multiple days hike from the nearest village, and stayed out there for about a week. No more than a week, almost 2 weeks in this rainforest. And man, it was the harshest terrain I've ever been in. It was pouring rain almost the entire time we were there. I lost all the skin off my body from rot. Just rotted off. My
what?
feet. Oh yeah. I mean, you're going to bed in a soaking wet sleeping bag. You're waking up and putting on soaking wet socks. You're hiking through all this. You're covered in leeches. I had leeches on every part of my body that you can imagine. And I mean, that's why people haven't found one yet, is because this region is not very conducive to an easy walk through the woods.
Oh man. You said your skin rotted. Nah, bro.
Yeah,
That's passion on a whole nother level.
that was
That's
nuts.
that's nuts. But
My
that makes
wife.
for good TV though.
Oh yeah, yeah,
It
for
makes for
sure.
good TV.
People want to watch it. My wife said that she's never smelled anything like it when I got off the plane. She's like, "I don't even think a shower is gonna do this. Like,
No, bro.
I don't know how we're gonna do this." Yeah, it was rough.
Yeah, that had to be rough. And I'm gonna tell you something, Pat. Like there's this and I've had these conversations with like some of the most prominent like field researchers who go into areas where like I'll email you some of the photos of like Bigfoots that these guys have gotten,
Yeah,
thermal
I'd love that.
images, like all this stuff, right? And we'll have these conversations about um I guess a conversation about integrity of I guess like Bigfoot field research or cryptid field research. And I try and explain to people, I say, man, there's a fine line between entertaining a massive audience of people and you just running around in the woods with a camera. There has
Absolutely.
to be a story behind it. And what I love about the conversation we're having is you're just naturally explaining the entertaining side of it. The fact that you did go into the jungle for 2.5 weeks or a week and a half, your skin did rot off. That was caught on camera. It's raining every day. And that's what and I try to explain this to the field researchers that nobody really identifies with an unknown hominid or a cryptid or a sea serpent or whatever the hell you want to call it, or a human being can't identify with that.
Mhm.
What we identify with is that other person and that journey that they make, the obstacles that they have to go through to get to where they're going, and that's what makes great entertainment. And I just appreciate you just laying it out there. You don't know what you're doing as you talk the way you're talking right now, but you're just making a clear example of the fact that yes, we went out there, we went to where the location was, we had a film crew, and we went through hell trying to find it. And
Yeah,
it's really about you going there. People have it backwards. They think it's about orang-pendek. No, it's about the human being trying to find orang-pendek.
oh,
And whether
thank
you
you.
find them or not, you took the journey looking for them.
Yeah, yeah, and it's something that I will remember for my entire life, and something that I feel so privileged to have been able to experience. As rough as it was, as difficult as it was, it's still amazing, and it was never lost on me that this was a privilege, and I'd love to get back there to do some more research, and I really do believe that that one, like I said, if they're not still there, they were very recently, because a lot of the eyewitnesses said that their grandparents saw them more frequently, their parents saw them, and that they, even the people who've seen them, they said, we've only seen one or two, and they were older. We've never seen the younger individuals of this. So if it's a highly migrant or highly kind of wandering species, which is what they describe with no home range, then if there are any left, they're likely older individuals that are right on the brink.
And that makes sense. That makes a whole bunch of sense. Now, I want to loop back and talk about the Mongolian death worm. So, the first time I heard about this thing, um, this is years ago. I'm like laying on the sofa, clicking through the channels, and I forgot the guy's name. Matt Gates, Bill Gates, Matt Gates, not Bill Gates, Matt Gates, the guy who was on uh, one of those TV shows,
Josh Gates.
Josh
Yep.
Gates, yeah.
Yep.
He goes looking for the Mongolian, and that dude was wildly entertaining, bro. Like
He
he
was.
would just,
Yeah.
he was wild. He would get on a dirt bike or a dune sand buggy or whatever, and just be wilding out, trying to flip over, doing crazy stuff. And I was like, I wonder if that's really real. I never really did any research into it, but I noticed that people continuously go out on searches for that. Walk me through a little bit about that and educate me on it. What
Sure.
exactly is it supposed to be? Is it supposed to be like the big worms from the movie Tremor, where they come out? You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what it sounds like.
That's what it
So,
sounds like.
you talk about entertainment value. I mean, what sounds better than the Mongolian death worm? How does
That's
that
what I'm
not?
saying.
It draws you in. It's just like, I want to know about that. I want to know more. Yeah, and that's the thing. The death worm. So what it's a fascinating one. It's a great story, and it's one of those where there's the myths and then there's the reality on the ground. And the myths are that this, you start to picture this giant creature, but it's really only supposed to be about 2 feet long, and it's reddish in color. It crackles with electricity. It can shoot lightning bolts out of it. It can so it
That's
can
ridiculous.
electrocute you. It can spit hot acid. It can shoot blood out of its out of a mouth like opening, and it can explode. It can make itself explode. So you start hearing about this and you start thinking this is the most dangerous animal on earth, and or this sounds crazy and there's no possible way of this. But when you start to break it down and look in biology, you see that every single thing that is attributed to the Mongolian deathworm, there are known animals that do this. So a porcupine fish can accidentally blow itself up when it's trying to inflate itself to look bigger than it is. Toads can also blow themselves up when they're trying to inflate themselves to look bigger than they are. The electric eel, electric catfish, electric rays, they can all, use electricity as a weapon. Horned lizards shoot blood out of their eyes. There are, spitting hot acid. Well, spitting cobras, it's not acid, but I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that the effects are
Right.
about the same. You get
About
shot
the
in the eyes
same.
by a
Yeah.
spitting cobra, as I have. It doesn't feel very good. So there's and I could see where someone would associate that with acid. So these traits are all there. And then you start to look at the region, and if you've never been there, you think the Gobi Desert, and all that people think of is a region called Nemget. And Nemget is like the realm of dinosaurs, and it looks like the Sahara. It's sand dunes, and it's just massive sand as far as the eye can see. But really, the Gobi Desert is an incredibly diverse ecosystem. And I found mole crickets, I found worms, I found actual worms there. I found grubs, I found beetles, I found a whole array of snakes and lizards. There's some areas that have trees, there's some that don't, there's some that's scrubland. So it starts to get more possible the more that you start thinking about it. Where I landed with the Mongolian deathworm is that there is very likely undiscovered creatures in the Gobi, because again, it's a really harsh environment. You've only got a few months a year when you could really go there to do an investigation. The local peoples, the nomadic herders, do not go, they don't dig in the ground if they don't have to. So anything underground is almost anything underground is a mystery to them, and something that they're not too interested in experiencing. They also have an incredible respect for life. It's a Buddhist country. So what I found was that all of the stories of the Mongolian death worm, it's not the death worm attacking a child who's out, herding his goats. It's not a death worm attacking a guy who's just trying to get home to its family. It's every person who dies at the hands of the death worm is someone who messed with it in some way. It's someone who dumped a bottle of gasoline over it and tried to light it on fire. It's someone who kicked it. It's someone who stepped on it. It's someone who was poking it with a stick. It's someone who wasn't respecting nature. So it really feels to me like there are unknown animals. I don't think that there is a death worm that's going to meet all of the kind of characteristics that are given to it. And I think it's really more of a metaphor for respecting nature. And I found that with the nomads, that they had stories about just about every animal that I found that were similar to the death worm. I caught a grass snake, and they go, no, 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 don't touch that. I said, why? It's a grass snake. It's harmless. They go, no, no, you don't understand. When you're riding on your camel, this snake coils itself like a spring, and it shoots through the camel and impales you. Like, huh, tell me more about that. Why? And
Ah,
and you start to see the biology behind this. You start to see, well, if a camel was dead and the rider, had fallen off, then and these snakes would be nearby because they're eating the insects that would have gone around the carcass. And you start to kind of piece it all together and go, okay, this makes sense. And I caught a toad-faced agama, a little lizard, and they go, no, 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 don't eat those, don't touch that. They eat babies. And you're like, okay, and now why could this myth have started? So it all ties back and has a basis in biology and in just the ultra respect for nature that the people in this region have.
man, I'm so disappointed. I wanted there to be a real Mongolian Tremors movie type death worm where you got to hide on top of the refrigerator. Your alarm can't go off because it's going to break through the wall and eat you. And you got to
It
stand
would
at
be
the edge of a
cool.
cliff so it can go off the cliff and die. I'm disappointed, man.
I
I'm,
think I think there it is very possible that there's a species of spitting cobra or an amphispina or like a sandfish or something that we don't know about that hasn't been given a Latin name that is in the Gobi, but unfortunately, yeah, I don't think the tremors worms are out there.
yeah, but it's nothing that meets the criteria of being a Tremors
It does
worm.
not.
You know
No.
what I'm saying? And that's highly disappointing. That would be the best thing for somebody to ever get on camera. It would be wildly entertaining. It's probably deadly as it can be, but man, I thought they had a Tremors worm for real. I'm real for real, bro. I'm disappointed for real,
Oh,
man.
I'm
I was
sorry.
hoping
I'm
you'd be like,
sorry.
yeah, man, we saw the sand moving and our camel tripped and rolled over. I'm like, no,
It
man,
ate
it
the
sucks.
camel, right? I barely got away. It had my boot. Yeah, no, nothing. Unfortunately, maybe
Oh my
next trip.
goodness. Maybe next trip. All right, man. We almost out of time. Tell everybody where they can find the series of books. Where do they buy them at? Where should they spend their moolah, baby?
So most people are finding them on Amazon, but you can get them at any of your local bookstores. It's they'll probably have to order them, but they're available everywhere. It's On the Hunt, and you can find which region is going to be the most interesting to you. On the Hunt in Mongolia, On the Hunt in Sumatra, and then one of the books is called 200,000 Snakes. And that's one about kind of how I got into this. It's the bridge to the rest of the series. How I got into this, how I got the series, and then I was diagnosed with stage 3 colon cancer right at the end of filming. And that book describes kind of my entire cancer experience and the way that I came out of it. So 2 years later, after chemo, after everything else, I had a 50% chance of survival. I said, I need to get back out there. I need to get back out exploring and show myself that I can still be, this person who does all this crazy stuff. So I convinced a couple of my friends to drive 34 hours up to Manitoba, Canada, and lay down in a pit of 200,000 snakes.
You serious?
Oh, yeah. And that's what that book chronicles.
Man. Well, first of all, congratulations on not only living your dreams but being a cancer survivor. I'm glad you
Thank you.
made it through. And
Thank
I
you.
was thinking, as you said, 200,000 snakes. I was thinking this dude on some Indiana Jones type foolishness,
Oh,
where the
yeah.
people go down in the pit with the snakes.
Yeah, it's
But
the largest concentration of snakes on Earth. The 200,000 number is a little bit of a, finger in the air guess. I've read estimates anywhere from 75,000 to 400,000. So I picked a number in the middle, but it was a lot of snakes, man. It was a
but
lot
they
of
were regular
snakes.
snakes. They weren't like poisonous snakes or nothing like that, right?
They're almost all garter snakes, but there will be a few other species that den in there with them. I'll tell you, I didn't see any.
What's
I
a
only
garter
saw the
snake?
garter snake.
What's
Garter
a
snakes are the black ones with yellow stripes on them. Just very. They're actually mildly venomous, but most people, you'd never have a reaction or anything. I've been bitten by them dozens of times, and but yeah, there's a huge concentration of them. I could reach down, my arm all the way up to my shoulder in just a sea of snakes, and then lift them up and let them just run down me. It was wild.
Yeah, bro. I understand you was coming off the cancer thing and you wanted to, but bruh, that's all I'm gonna say.
It's not normal. It's
It's not
not
normal,
normal. I
dude.
will
That's
give you
not
that.
normal, my man. That's like beating death and then going to jump in the pit of death. You know what I'm saying? Like,
It's true.
yeah, bro.
It smelled like it. I had to
My
sell my car
goodness.
after. It smelled so bad I had to sell my car.
Oh my goodness. Did anybody get bit while you guys were in there?
No,
That's
bizarrely,
crazy. How
because
can you be around all those snakes and don't get bit though?
it was May. They're just emerging from kind of not truly hibernating, but they're just emerging from spending the winter underground. And as they come up, they're only interested in eating and mating. They wanted nothing to do with us.
Oh, gotcha. So y'all went into a snake sex pit. Y'all just
We
jumped in
did.
a
Yeah,
snake
there was.
orgy. Yeah, y'all
It
tripped
really
all
was
the
a
way out.
massive orgy. Like you would see there, it was the running joke was that it was like a club. There's one girl with 10 guys all around her.
Yeah, man.
I mean, you'd see this one big female snake with literally 100 males just wrapped all around her, and they would roll down the hill. It was just they were climbing trees. They were falling out of trees on us. It was like nothing I've ever experienced.
Yep, not doing it. You said so many things in this interview that I would not do. You said you gave me so many visuals that I don't want to ever see too. I just want to let you know that for the record, man.
Stay away from Manitoba in May.
Yeah, man, that is wow. All right, Pat, man, it's been a wonderful interview. What about a website? What about any YouTube channels? Where can people find you on social media?
Patspain.com is the website. I'm on Instagram and Twitter. I have a Facebook, but I'm really awful with social media. Instagram is where I'm the most active. So, but yeah, patspain.com. People can contact me there. There's a way to reach me, and Instagram is also a good thing. And yeah, if anyone picks up the books, I'd very much appreciate letting me know how you like it on any of the social medias.
Awesome sauce, man. Thank you for spending time with me. Ladies and
Thank you.
gentlemen, it's been another wonderful episode of Hanging Out with Dog Waters, where it's like sitting on the front porch, having a cup of coffee, in my case, smoking a cigar, and just talking. You know what I'm saying? It's just people talking. We just got weird interests. That's all it is. A bunch of
I'd
weird
love to
people
get down
talking
to
about
New
weird
Orleans
things.
and do that.
Bro, if you come to New Orleans, I will take you to some places that
One of my favorite cities in the world.
Yeah, you'll see some things. I'll take you to where the real vampires are.
Perfect.
Legit vampires.
I did I did an episode on vampires for the Travel Channel we filmed in New Orleans.
Yes, where did you guys go? You went down on Bourbon Street?
Well, I mean, we did a little on Bourbon Street, but we mostly just met with a couple people in some of the magic shops that they've got.
Yes, they're definitely down here.
Oh yeah.
You got to go to the right places, and there's one
I
place on
watched the
Bourbon
guy
Street where
drink
they hang
someone's
out.
blood.
No, that's the freaky people. Like they just freaky, man. They freaky. Like, I'm gonna drink this person's blood. I'm talking about the psychic, life sucking vampires that when people come down here, they'll be hanging out, having drinks at a club, meet a guy or meet a girl, and then wake up in a hotel room and have no clue how they got there. They have their systems checked. They're not drugged. It's insane. It's a lot of crazy stuff that happens down here.
I got to get down there.
All right, Pat, man. Thank you for spending some time with me, brother. We'll be talking soon.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. This was great.